we want to recreate this clip here. This is the first part we have. When making the shapes using points, make sure to not draw extra points. We need points here and here. Extra points only make our project weightier. Also, since we're gonna duplicate this puzzle piece later, it's better if we didn't have any unnecessary points. The original shape is made using Illustrator, but After Effects has limited means to draw a shape, so we only try to recreate the overall shape of our project. Okay, open the layer, go inside its fill and give it a color, and then using the eyedropper tool, choose the right color for it. Okay, here is the shape. Now add a stroke and make it black. So, how do we make these dots? Simple, they are just an image. Just search for polka dots texture and use one of them. A simple way to download an image with an almost good quality is to open the image in a new tab. There you can see the image in its original resolution and then you can download it. Just right click on the image and choose Open Image in New tab. First, let the image load and then try to download it. I want to make a new project for this image. Save it somewhere. Now go to After Effects and save this project for now. Make sure to always organize your projects. I make a new folder and save this project there. Okay, now import the picture. You can pin the folder you're working with to quick access. It's more convenient and easier to find. Also, this way you can unpin the folders that you don't need. Okay, so now open the image. Open the ruler by pressing Ctrl+R. Straighten it. Good. Now we need to change its blend mode. Hold Shift and use plus and minus button to change the blend mode. Dots on the original shape were white, so we can add an invert effect to it. And done! Now we mask it. Instead of making a new mask, first draw a random mask, then copy its path and paste it on the path of this one. Then double-click on one of its points and move it there. Now set its indicator and then scale it like so. Edit it to make it right. We still need some editing here. When you are done, parent the dots to our main shape. I call it pattern. Now using Ctrl plus Shift plus C, pre-compose these layers. I call them puzzle. Go inside it and crop it. Then from composition menu choose crop comp to region of interest. Alright, the first piece is ready now. Let's move on to the animation. Add a keyframe to its scale. Here we have excite. In order to find the exact place of the excite, open the ruler and move it backwards. And it's here. After this, we only have excite. Open the motion tools. Excite goes beyond the limits. To find the limit, we need to find the size after the excite is done. So far, we only have the timing. To find the timing, we need to find the original size. So we use ruler and we'll go backwards to see how many keyframes we have until we hit the original size. Okay, here's our puzzle. Make this 0. I reduce the opacity a little. Apparently, we also have easings. Here it is. Make these 2 keyframes ease out. Make this 100%. Maybe 90 or 75 is good enough. Align both shapes. Move the anchor point to its center. Okay, now we see the excite. We also have to match this one. I change the friction to 60 and set the area shoot to 30. Also change the bounce to 35. Okay, so far so good. This is our first piece. Change the opacity and hide this layer too. Here we have some other pieces too. We need to change it so we have some hollow pieces. Okay, so if I change this part, will the other parts change too? The answer is yes. What should I do now? I need to copy the source. Here is how you do it. Alright, let's start changing it. First, remove the fill. Hide this one as well. Now we have an empty piece. Change the opacity. To make it right, I take a screenshot from here. Okay, let's make the stroke dashed. Some of them are different and some are not. Go to Content, Shape, Stroke, and add 1 or 2 dashes. Reduce the dashes by 1. Decrease the gap and increase the dash parameters. Now increase the gap again. Click on this icon. Now we see it much better. I think the gap is too much. This much space is enough. We need one here. Okay, here is the first one. I changed the stroke to 5. That's it. Duplicate it. The duplicate is made in this layer. Delete it and duplicate this one. Also, delete this as well. Okay. Now move the anchor point to the center. This one only has 2 dashes, so go into the shape and then a stroke. I will make 3 shapes and then I will clone them. Let's adjust the dash now. Adjust it so that it's aligned to our source picture. Now we have 3 dashes. It's because the offset. Zero out the offset. Here is the second one. Duplicate it again. If you can't replicate the shapes exactly, it's okay. Just offset them a bit. Just go into the content, shape, a stroke, and then offset it a little. Again, adjust the dashed line. Duplicate it again and move it here. Adjust this one too. Add dash to a stroke and then offset it. We could do something else. The corners must be rounded. Just choose them one by one and adjust them. Round all the caps for these shapes. Duplicate them and put them in their positions. Reduce the opacity. We also need a white background. I make a new white solid and call it BG. Okay, let's go for animation. Very simple. We just use rotation and position. The animation almost takes 30 frames. I move this out and rotate it by 90 degrees. Then give it some ease in. I solo these 2 layers. The movement stops here. It's not 30 frames. The whole action takes around 60 frames. Here we have some more rotation. What about the next animation? Just copy the animation on this one and paste it on the other ones. Press U. Select its position and move it here. Then adjust the starting position. Do the same for the next one. First drop it on the end point and then find the starting point. Same for the next one as well. I increase the layer's opacity. from 10 to 20%. Good. Now let's continue. We have these extra pieces. The yellow piece enters first and then after 16 frames starts rotating. And the rotation takes 10 frames. Its whole movement takes only 25 frames. We duplicate this and we'll change it from its source. Hold Alt and drag it inside our comp. This is a yellow piece. Open it, change its color. The original color is a bit more sharp. I want to increase the dots contrast so I see them better. We use the curve effect for that. Now it's much better. Alright, we have 15 frames for its position. Now press U, remove the scale and its keyframes. Then I remove the extra effects as well. Now for the movement. It starts from here. Set the keyframe for its position in this point. And after 15 frames it stops. So we move it here. Our colors don't match. To pick the color in this comp, simply use eyedropper in character menu and catch this color. Then open the other comp and select the eyedropper and catch the color stored in the character menu. Now it's better. Color in motion graphic is actually very important. The colors shouldn't be so sharp or soulless, and they also must match each other. Usually, in most of the professional works out there, colors play a big role in the animation quality. Okay, the rotation starts from here. Set a keyframe. It only takes 10 frames for its rotation. This one is -180. And this one I set to +90. We have easy ease here, so I set a 75% easing for it. Also, our movement is fast at beginning and slow in the end. The original video's rotation happens a bit earlier. Let's decrease the easing value to 65. This touches and moves a piece. We don't need to take this into Newton. It's not that complicated. Okay, now let's start animating this. Set a keyframe here and move it 5 frames forward. This is when the pieces connect. Here we must connect our pieces now. Now we must connect our pieces. Let's adjust them. This one must move lower. Let's use a ruler for that. Okay, we have a problem here. When this piece stops moving. Look at here. When this piece touches the other one. Let's parent this to our main piece. Now let's look at the original animation. I also reduced this one's opacity. Animation starts here. Add the keyframe to position. We add it to the main one. Animation takes about 4 frames. Give it some ease in now. Then we have some other movements from here, again in 4 frames. Then it moves back again. Use ease in for it. And after this one connects, we move again. This one only takes 2 frames. We don't have any camera movement yet. From here, it moves up in 4 frames. Okay, now let's build the other pieces of our puzzle. We duplicate this one from our source and call it blue. Blue 1. Using the same method, we change its color to blue. Pick the blue color here and then go into the new comp and use it there. Press U. Its animation is the opposite. You just have to flip it horizontally and show its layer. So we add it to a null and then we flip that null. So we add it to a null and then we will flip that null. Now delete the null and check the results. If you want to copy the animation, you must use a null. Now let's adjust the rotation. Change it to -90. Turn this one to 0. Now check it. I think it's good now. Position it correctly for when it touches the main piece. Take your time and match the pieces. Good. Now check the results we've made so far. Parent the blue piece to the green one. I only changed this keyframes value to -90. On this one, the value is 0. And on this one is -90 again. I rotated -90 degrees for them to match. Alright, let's move on. You see these lines? What are they? That's right, they are bursts. Let's check our burst. We don't need any stroke here. We just change its fill color. Their number is 3. We also reduce the revolution parameter. It's too big, so decrease the scale. Now rotate it to make it face the right direction. Open it and using this, move it to the correct position. I think we have rotated it too much, so let's fix it. Reposition it. Reduce the distance parameter a bit. For now, I change its color to see it better. I increase the revolution. Now adjust the rotation. Good. But what about its animation? It starts from 0 and then moves like this. This is the burst stretched out. But I think our width is too much. Reduce it from here. We animate it using these parameters. Press U, go back 5 frames and change it to 0. Before it's turned to 0, we must move it here. Burst doesn't have any start or end points, it's only center. Also, burst is different than a stroke. In a stroke, we can add a start and end points. Now duplicate this burst. Use Ctrl plus C and Ctrl plus V. Then move the duplicate here. Add 50% easing to this burst. Now check the video. Parent it to the green piece. Do you see the problem here? We have parented this piece to the green puzzle because the green piece has its own animation. Thus, when the green one moves to the left, the other pieces moves there too. In order to prevent this problem, we need to parent it when it gets connected. Press Ctrl plus Shift plus D. Then from Edit menu, select the split layer and then unparent this layer. Now, after it's connected, the pieces gets parented. You can try to make the exact video like this. Now for the next yellow piece. The yellow piece connects in here. We connect our piece at that point too. Move this layer in timeline. Parent it to a null and rotate it. Move it here. Now check it out. When it's connected, go to the Edit menu. Then choose a split layer and unparent this layer. Now this layer gets parented when it's connected to the blue piece. Then we have another yellow here. Duplicate this yellow again. Parent it to a null and move it here. A bit higher. Now for this yellow. It's better if we didn't use our main green piece. So I use a blue one instead. Duplicate it. Add it to a null. Move the layer in timeline. Drag the blue layer to here. Now we use the green source on the blue layer. And now it's green. We use the sources to change the color of shapes. For example, if you use a blue source on a green layer, the animation and parameters won't change. The only thing that will change is its color. Meaning we will have the animation of the green layer on a blue colored layer. Now let's go further and adjust the green piece. Rotate it 90 degrees and then flip it vertically. Check the video. It connects in here. Go to Edit menu and split the layer, then unparent it. And now let's check our results. This yellow piece is staying on. Why is that? Rotate it 90 degrees. Then flip it vertically. Move the null here. Nulls are very useful. Using a null, you can move that object with this animation after it's animated. Very good. Also, it is not only used for parenting. The piece is parented from here. Split the layer and move it in the timeline, and then parent it like so. The green piece isn't moving because it is not parented. Go to the frame where it starts moving and then parent it. The yellow piece must be parented too. This yellow piece moves too early. Let's check it out in the original video. So move the yellow piece in timeline like this. Press U. Parent this layer to this one. This piece isn't matched perfectly. Now it's better. Since we adjusted this, we should unparent it. Alright, we can do multiple things here. The rest of the animation is rather easy. The pieces gather to make a shape. Here we can use a camera or use a null. Which one should we use? Using a null is pretty easy, and using a camera is even easier. Let's use a null for now. We know that all the colored pieces are parented to the green piece. So we parent the green piece to a null. Now for these empty pieces around. We can either delete them or parent them to the green piece to scale them together. Alright, the animation starts from here. Add a keyframe to its scale. Go here. To get the right size, unsolo this layer and BG and match the pieces together. Now it's perfect. Give some easy ease to the nulls animation. Meanwhile, in this 18 frames of animation, reduce the opacity of these empty pieces. Okay, let's check out the results now. We have a problem. I reduced the length of this layer so it's not visible in the early frames. The pieces connect and then the camera goes back. When it's zoomed out, we start duplicating the pieces and make the final shape that is the letter E. Okay, reduce the opacity of this to 20. And then start designing. Check the first puzzles connecting. It's really simple. Duplicate this yellow piece and move it above all others. Press U and select these two keyframes. Move the new piece to here. Then move the start point out of the screen. We try to smooth the animate. We start from here. We do the rest of the pieces like this one. Now let's make the other yellow pieces. Duplicate this. This one goes here and the start of it is at this point. I change the start of this one. This one also needs to be rotated. Put it here and move its start point. Duplicate it again for the next one. Move it here and adjust its start point. Make another duplicate. It's very simple. I put this one here. If you know what you should do, graphics are really simple. In the end, we will change the timing of the layers. We only made yellow duplicates now. If you wanted to start on the blue pieces, all you have to do is to select the last duplicate and replace the blue piece on it. We do this because the original blue piece had too much animation on it, like its rotation. Instead, we simply use one of our yellow pieces for this. A new duplicate for here. For the blue ones, I duplicate the yellow and change its source. Some of them don't match and it's okay, because the crowd you won't be able to see all of them. Rotate this one like this. It's matched perfectly. Duplicate this again and move it here. All of these are animated, so I just have to place them. Hold the Shift button and rotate it by 10 degrees. We have another blue piece here. Connected blue pieces are done and all that's left is some blue and yellow pieces that are outside the main design. Now for the yellow pieces. Duplicate a piece with a simple animation. Good. Move the piece and its start point. This is some hard work, and thus, most of the big motion graphic projects are done in groups. Now for our green pieces. We need to flip this one. We have some yellow pieces that only differ in their shape. Match this one too. Move the start point. Alright, now let's move on to the timing process. First, check the timing of the original video. But before that, we need another piece here. Also, don't forget to save your project. Alright, our pieces will all move together. But if you want to match the timing, the best way is to select the layers by the order you want them to appear. I select these layers that we don't need for now, and I will change their color to yellow. I remove the empty shapes from here too. Now go to the place where the animation is done. I want the pieces to move in a circular group, so I start selecting the pieces that I want. By choosing them like this, you are setting their order. Finally, I go for the pieces outside. When you've selected them, move the indicator to the place that the motion starts. Press open bracket to set them to start. We want to offset them now. If you misclick by accident and lost your selection, press Ctrl+Z to undo it. Select the remaining layers. We have 40 layers. If we consider their timing, we have 45 seconds and 40 layers to animate. Here we have 32 or 33 keyframes. We need to place this animation into 40 frames. First, move the start point of our animate. I will cut one frame from all of them. We want these layers to move by our selection order. We use sequence layer for that. Select the keyframes and then right-click, and from Keyframe Assistant menu choose Sequence Layer. Don't check this box and press OK. Now increase these layers. Let's check the video now. Layers are sequenced one frame in between. If you wanted to make them 2 frames in between, simply make the keyframes last 2 frames instead of 1. Now let's see the animation. The pieces are coming in a circular direction. This yellow piece is duplicate, so I delete it. That one yellow piece on top that's coming in the end is because we missed it in our selection. We selected that as our last one. Now for scattering them. First, find out where they start scattering. The design is complete in here. And we want to scatter them from this point. This time, their animation contains some rotation too. And we also have some scaling. The scatter animation takes 25 frames. Select all the layers, press P and then R. This way you activate the rotation and positions. Now I'm adding keyframe to their positions. Do the same thing for the red layers too. Open their position and rotation and then add keyframes to their position. Now using a start and end keyframe, we will move all of our shapes outside the screen. Let's continue. Hide the BG layer. This is our scale null. Copy and paste the keyframe and reverse them. Then move this keyframe to the 25th frame of the motion. Now we move every piece outside and then rotate them. We don't need any order this time. This is extra duplicate, so delete it. Okay, now select all the keyframes. And easy out all of them. This green piece is an artifact. Just select it and animate it like the others. Because we had some layers parented to this, we need to unparent them first. Now you can animate it. Apply easy ease once more. Check the animation. We should remove the easing on the rotation keyframes. Their movement is too slow and subtle. Select all the layers and press R so their rotation opens. Now remove the easy ease on the rotation keyframes. Not bad! Now let's offset the center pieces so they move more randomly. I want them to move later. Also, I want to slow down the animation on these pieces. This one is also too fast, so move the keyframe by 5 frames. Very good!